Okay, it looks like it should be live. Just make sure everything's up and running and then we'll get straight to it. Okay, so just with a bit of an update first and foremost, I'm sure most of you will be aware that Shadowlands has been delayed. From what I understand, this is a call that has been requested by people who've been playing the beta, because the game apparently does have a lot of bugs that need to be, in Blizzard's own words, polished, and the game needs to be polished before it's released. Whether or not that's true, I don't know, but you're probably wondering why we're on the character select screen anyway, well, not the character select, but the character creation screen, and why it looks a bit different. Thankfully, coming in clutch, the reason being is that we have actually got access to the Shadowlands beta, which is big because previously I wasn't that bothered about getting access to it. It would have been nice, but you know, the game was coming out on the 27th of October, so if I didn't get access to it, it wasn't the end of the world. It's less than a month away. Then hearing that it was going to be delayed, getting access to this was big, and something that I really wanted to be able to do, because ultimately there wasn't going to be a lot of good stuff to be able to stream, quite frankly. You know, doing transmog runs is fine and all, but it's not that entertaining. And ultimately, I wanted to do something that's perhaps a little bit different. And I know there's still people out there who haven't seen anything to do with Shadowlands. I myself, you know, I knew some information, but not a lot. So it's been wild for me to try this out. I only did go on for a few hours last night just to sort of, because I wanted to make sure that if there was any pre-quests that needed to be done, things like that, I wanted to get those out of the way so that I could literally just jump in, and just sort of demonstrate some of the main bits of content that you will want to do and want to see. So as you can see here, I've got Warrior. I'm just going to dive straight in, to be honest with you, because there's so much stuff that I want to show and sort of introduce you to, that's coming in Shadowlands. First impressions is it's fantastic. Ultimately, one of the most exciting things to come out of it for me is Torghast, which I was excited about before it was even a case of, you know, playing the game. But yeah, now that I've actually had a chance to try Torghast out, it's better than I expected it to be. I can't deny that. So a couple of things just to sort of go over. This is Ouroboros, if I believe correctly, which is the sort of main city, the main hub that you'll be finding yourself in. This mount, by the way, isn't a mount that I have earned myself. I do not have that much patience when it comes to PvP. But one of the things that they do have, if you do get access to the beta yourself, is they have got this guy, which is the test resource distributor. So you talk to him and he can grant you honor, for example. So what's that, 300,000 honor, just like that. It's just so that you can test out the aspects of the game without having to grind them, which is really nice. If you keep going around here, one of the sort of key things that they have got at the moment is certain vendors. Runator, so he gives you the options of being able to get what you require to craft legendary items. Now, the legendary sort of system seems fantastic to me. I don't know how easy these items here are going to be to get moving forwards, but essentially how it works is that you have one of these. So for example, you have the helm. That is how it will look in game. Now, as it currently stands at the moment, as you can see, I've got the shoulders on. I don't know, because you can only have one crafted legendary piece equipped, so I don't know if there's ever going to be a way to have this whole set on, but just so you can see, I mean, that is the legendary set. That's how it would look if you had the entire thing on in one go, which is just phenomenal. I mean, that's some of the best gear I've ever seen Blizzard and the World of Warcraft team produce. So if they can keep that sort of theme going throughout Shadowlands, that will be on a different level. So how it basically works is you choose your piece of gear. So let's say you chose boots. This is a bag of soul ash. Now that I don't even think it's going to be an item that's available in the normal game, contains 1,000 soul ash. Basically, to get soul ash, you complete Torghast. Once you've got enough soul ash and you've got one of these items, you can then take it to the guy who I think he's called a rune carver, if I remember correctly. You then choose whether you want the legendary item to have critical strike, haste, mastery, or versatility. So you choose one of these, two of those. So you choose one of each if you want to. So I went with haste and crit, for example. And then once you're there, depending on the piece of armor you've got, so if you have a look at shoulders, for example, let me load it up here. Where is it? So if we click on powers, this will give us a full list of all the available legendary powers for Fury. Now, if you hover over them, for example, what you'll see is that it says that you can rune carve on waist or feet. So that special ability there can only be applied to the waist or foot slots. This one, head or shoulder slots. Now, seismic reverberation, which is the one that I'm hovering over now, and if whirlwind hits 3 or more enemies, it hits them an additional time. That's the one that I currently have at the moment. The reason being is that in Torghast, you essentially, as you're going through, you will collect upgrades to your character, which will temporarily give them like a power boost for that run. And one of them, or one of the sort of main ones I enjoy playing around with, is focusing on whirlwind as being the sort of main damage dealing and healing ability. But I'll do a Torghast run and you'll be able to see sort of how that works. You've also got Trinketor, and he essentially just gives you access to, I believe, every trinket that's currently available in the game at the moment, in terms of like the new ones. I don't know what's best. I haven't had a look online. Obviously, let's say I've only been doing this for a couple of hours, so I haven't really had a chance to test anything out. And then you've got like flasks and things there. Now, one little tip, if anybody who watches this does get access to the beta, first thing you want to do is if you start a character on the, this is all based on EU, by the way, I don't know whether it's the same for the US, but if you go onto EU, and I believe if you start a character on the Torghast server, as soon as you've done the character creation, they will just instantly hit level 60, so you don't have to level them up from 50, you don't have to copy an existing character over and level them up, you just create a new character and they'll be level 60. You'll do the prerequisite quests to unlock your Covenant, and then what you want to do is come straight to the test resource distributor. So come to this guy. Once you've spoken to him, the next place you want to go to is through here, and that is to the PvP vendor. Now the reason being is because what you can do is you can purchase these weapons and swords, so you can literally fully kit your character out. Once you've done that and you've got all of those pieces, you then come to this guy here, put the pieces in, and you can then upgrade them. Now remember that 300,000 honor that we got before, that's where that comes in really handy, because it's more than enough to just get all the pieces fully upgraded, which means that your character will then have a full set of epic gear. And then obviously, once you get a little bit further down the line, you can then craft a legendary item. So in terms of getting gear, just to sort of get you started, that is the fastest way to do it. Just a little tip, because at first when your character starts, I think they're at about item level 135, 140 perhaps, something like that. So to be able to just instantly jump them up to 190 plus is a big deal. Now in terms of covenants, so there are 4 covenants to choose from. The covenant that I chose was the Venthyr. Now each covenant will give you a special non-combat ability and then a special combat ability, from what I understand. Now in terms of Venthyr, they give a pretty cool non-combat ability. How useful it's necessarily going to be, I'm not 100% certain, but just to give you a little glimpse of it. So this is the ability here. Let me open up my spellbook actually. It's called Door of Shadows. So wend through the shadows, appearing at the targeted location, 1.5 second cast, 1 minute cooldown. And it looks a little bit like this. So it's got a fairly decent range, as you can see. You just, as you run around, select, let it cast, and boom, there you go. You're in your new selection. And I've got a little boost, which gives me a little bit of extra speed after I come through it as well. So it is really nice, good looking ability. The damaging ability that you get, so bear in mind this is for warriors, and I think particularly Fury warriors, so I think each spec and each class gets their own sort of different abilities, which is just crazy. I think that's probably one of the reasons why Shadowlands has been delayed, is because the balancing of this is one of the biggest sort of concerns. So it seems like Blizzard want to take that extra time just to make sure that they get this as close to, it's never going to be perfect, but as close as to sort of manageable as they can, I would probably say is the best way to look at it. So the next ability that you get is Condemn. Now the Condemn actually replaces Execute, so I've gone with this ability, but I'm not 100% sure on whether or not that's something that I do like, the fact that it replaces Execute, because obviously normally what would happen is you would get the existing spell, so you'd still keep Execute, and then you'd get a new spell on top of that. Doing it this way means that I don't get that extra spell, so I just get Condemn to replace Execute. I'm not getting like another ability to be able to use. But as you can see, so Condemn a foe to suffer their sins causing 2756 shadow damage, only usable on enemies who are above 80% health or below 20%. Now, that's crazy because normally Execute is 20% or below only. So the fact that you've now got an Execute for below 20%, but you can also start the fight with a nice big burst at the beginning as well, is really good. The other thing that it does as well is the primary target is weakened, preventing damage that they deal to you by 2.2k. Now, one of the reasons why I think this is quite important is not so much in the 80% plus bracket, but once you get into the 20% and below, that tends to be the point at which a boss is going to be, in the final phase. They're going to be doing more damage, there's going to be more going on. So to have the ability of mitigating some damage passively every 5.5 seconds, which is the cooldown of that ability, whilst also doing extra damage, I think is really good. Also, it says shadow damage, so I'm not sure if it is physical or if it is like spell damage. I'm not 100% certain of that, but it does say melee range, so I'm assuming it probably classes as physical damage. So they're the two abilities that you get for choosing Venthyr. I don't know if it'll still allow me to have a look. Yeah, I don't want to desert my existing one because I've got a couple of bits going. So essentially, the other ones are the Necrolords, as you can see here. There's the Venthyr, which is the ones that I've currently gone with. And then over the other side, we have the Kyrian, who I believe are kind of like the protectors of the Arbiter. And then finally the Night Fae. Now, in terms of it, what I'll probably do, because as I mentioned before, I created this character last night. I was really excited to get into the beta, don't get me wrong, and I wanted to try it out, but also this is kind of like spoilers for some people who maybe, haven't seen anything about Shadowlands or anything like that, so I didn't want to sort of disrupt your ability to play the intro quest line, and show you sort of how that works, because the intro is in some aspects one of the most important parts of the expansion, because it sets the scene and it sets the tone for you going into what was going to be World of Warcraft for the next couple of years. So I definitely didn't want to step on anybody's toes by showing that. If it's a case of anybody would like to see that, then I'm more than happy to make another character. What I'm most likely going to end up probably doing is making a warrior of each. So I'll probably have 4 warriors on the server, and I'll do 1 for each covenant, just so I can test out the abilities and see how that affects damage and things like that. I know there's always the option to go online and just check it. By all means, that's fine, if people want to do that, but ultimately one of the reasons for doing the beta is I want to test these things out myself, and also to help Blizzard, because I want this game to be as good as it possibly can be. They clearly want it to be as good as it can be, hence the fact that they've delayed it. There's already been a couple of bugs that I've reported, which doesn't sound too great, when you consider that I have only played it for about 2, maybe 3 hours at max, and there's already been a couple of bugs that I myself have encountered. One of them is in one of the sort of early quest lines, and basically you talk to a quest giver. Essentially, imagine this is the quest giver, so you talk to the quest giver, he just essentially despawns, but then it's telling you to hand in, there's nowhere to hand in. And I did a /say, and the guy just said, "Oh, just run up the hill." So you literally run away, come back, and the guy spawns back in. I'd been told that it had been reported, but one of the things with beta is just report it anyway. If there's anything, even if you think, "Oh, that's so common, it's so early in the sort of process, everyone will mention that," just still mention it, because the more feedback that they get, the more likely it is to be fixed, and the less problems we're likely to have. So in terms of it, I mean, I can show you that I haven't really done a great deal, because if we actually zoom out to the map here, so here are your 6 zones. So you've got the Maw, Revendreth, Ardenweald, Bastion, and Maldraxxus. So just in case anyone's not aware, Maldraxxus is the Necrolords, Revendreth is the Venthyr, Ardenweald is where the Nightfae reside, and then finally Bastion, which is where the Kyrian reside. The Maw is where the Jailer resides, and he is essentially like the sort of main protagonist of this expansion from what we know. Now, if I go on to Maldraxxus, if I go on to Bastion, and if I go on to Ardenweald, as you can see, I haven't explored any of these. The only one that I've explored is Revendreth, and even then I haven't even looked at the whole thing. In terms of the Maw, so again, I've just gone into the main sort of starting area, and then finally there is Torghast. Now, as you can see, I've defeated layer 1 of one level of Torghast and defeated 2 more layers on another one, and there was also an intro one. So I've done like 4 runs on Torghast already. I've said it previously on other streams and videos that I've done that in terms of Corrupted Visions, I actually did enjoy Corrupted Visions. Yes, they weren't perfect, but I enjoyed them. In terms of Torghast, honestly, it's a whole different level. It just adds the extra level of excitement in there, because you've got, you know, this sort of randomness of the abilities that you can select, because ultimately it's what I believe the term is a roguelike, or essentially as you're going through, you'll get the option to pick from a set of abilities, and then you sort of make a build on the fly, and that's just random each time you're going through. So in terms of getting to Torghast, because that's probably what I'll do on the stream today, is we'll do a couple of runs of Torghast, and then depending on if anybody, you know, wants me to, watches the stream and leaves a comment or anything like that, and wants me to, yes, Michael, this is the beta. Sorry, I've just seen your message in chat. This is the beta, yeah. So ultimately, in terms of sort of going into the next video, I'll just do Torghast for this one. And then if, you know, there's a consensus that it's okay for me to show the initial quest line, then I'll do that. I'll make another character and we'll do the initial quest line, and then ultimately we'll have a look at some of the other zones and some of the other covenants and the abilities that come with them. So this is your main hub for getting to new areas. So you can see these giant portals here. When you speak with the Flight Master, you will be given the options, as you would expect, in terms of where you want to fly. I'm assuming that these flight paths aren't normally always open like this. I'm guessing this is just for beta purposes. And essentially what will happen is you will click on it, and an encircled worm, which is the mount that you got for pre-purchasing Shadowlands, will take you away. And depending on which zone it is you actually want to go through, they'll take you through the necessary portal. You then go through a sort of Stargate style wormhole, which then takes you to the zone that you need to be in. So in terms of getting to the Maw, the way that you do that is you just jump down into this giant hole here. Now we get the lovely work in progress over the screen, and this now drops us into the Maw, the lovely shot of Ice Crown up there. So this is the Maw. This is, I believe, where essentially everything's gone wrong. This is where the souls are being sucked to that shouldn't be. The aesthetic of Shadowlands, from what I've seen, is unbelievable. Blizzard have, like, the art team have done a fantastic job with this expansion so far. I really can't fault the way it looks in comparison with Battle for Azeroth, which I thought, you know, some of the zones looked okay, but very bland in a way. This is a different level. For me, I always think that the sort of, you know, medieval-esque looking themes and, you know, more sort of dark looking themes lend themselves better to RPG games. I know RPGs come in all different, you know, types. You've got sci-fi themed ones, things like that. That's fine, but for me personally, it's one of the reasons why I liked Bloodborne so much, and like Dark Souls, is because I find the aesthetic of those games to be really pleasing and lend themselves to role-playing games a lot better. So this is the Tower of the Damned, also known as Torghast. Sadly, I've currently got Bane Bloodhoof all over me at the moment because it's part of a quest. But yeah, so this is the sort of main area in terms of where you're going to come. Now, as you run up around the side here, you'll notice that there's a couple of different portals. So there's one here, one there. There's currently 2 unlocked. I think it must just be like random each week perhaps. So each week you'll come in and there'll be like a different one open, which will have like a different look to it. So essentially all we're going to do is we come over here and then it gives us this little list. Now I've already completed 2 layers on here. I'm going to go up and do the other one because I've already done that one twice. I've only done the one up here once. So I'll go up here and we'll do the second one on this side. So essentially how it works is you come here, you can see it's got the list. It looks like it carries over, that's pretty cool. So it doesn't matter that I've done it 2 layers on the other one, it still gives me the option to go straight to number 3 on this one, which is cool. So basically what happens is each week you can collect a reward for each layer you do, and as you can see that reward is Soul Ash, which was what was located in these bags that I showed you previously. I don't know if I've got any, no, it looks like I've opened them all, but basically Soul Ash is the item that you need to craft legendaries. So what I'll do is I will select layer 2, it goes all the way up to layer 8. This one gives 10 Soul Ash, I think this one was potentially 5, maybe lower, yeah, it looks like it goes up in 15s. So we'll jump in, so it puts us in the queue. It is just solo because I'm not in a group with anybody, but as far as where you can do this up to groups of 5, so you know you've got the option to do that or play solo at any point if you want to, which is very handy for someone like myself. So you'll start off the run in Torghast and you'll be greeted with an Anima Horde, and you click on that and you get your 2 options. So first option, when you critically strike with a direct attack, an arcane bolt will also strike the target. Not bad, not great. Increased Phantasma earned by 25%. So Phantasma is a currency that you can acquire within Torghast. You will then use that currency at a vendor who appears, I believe, on floors 3 and floors 5. So 6 floors from what I've seen so far in Torghast. So floors 3 and floors 5, you will get the vendor option. Ultimately, I think I'm going to go with the lens just because I'm going to be using hopefully Whirlwind quite a lot, and it doesn't say, I know it says with a direct attack and I don't know if Whirlwind would count as that. I don't think it does, but Phantasma is very easy to get, so I think I'll still just go with the lens on this occasion. So we start off again. I mean, you can see just like the look of the place is unbelievable. A surprising lack of enemies thus far, but trust me, they will come. Right, here we go. Some of the new models for enemies in the game, by the way, I really enjoy them. So you can see it, this is a new model. Although the sort of skeleton of it might be the same, it is something that we haven't actually seen before, which is very nice. They are what's called more rats. You can create builds which is designed about killing more rats and getting them to explode for really high damage, as well as other things, so you can get them to reset abilities, cooldowns and things like that. So thus far, not a great, from what I can see, it's not a great choice that I got in terms of my first anima power. I had one run which was just unbelievable, where I, in terms of my AoE damage and my single target, I think my character was like next to unstoppable really. So basically how it worked was I managed to get 3 of an ability that makes my Bloodthirst, which is sort of the main Fury Warrior spell, reduce its cooldown by 25%, but I got 3 of those, so reduced it to 75%. And then Bloodthirst heals you for 3% of your total health, so literally every second I was able to heal for 3% of my total HP, which when it came to the sort of bosses at the end of each floor, it just made them a joke, because I could literally just stand and take any hits that they gave me, just casting Bloodthirst on repeat, and they literally just couldn't stand it. They couldn't kill me, couldn't get through the healing. So that was quite fun, but also in the same run I'd managed to get my Whirlwind to the point where I was healing for 66%, I think it is, of my Whirlwind. My Whirlwind also had the ability to draw enemies in whenever I used it, so enemies that were sort of sitting on the sidelines would get sucked into the Whirlwind, and then it also had a chance to trigger an additional Whirlwind when I was using I forgot to put Berserker Rage on my toolbar, which is something that I need to fix. Yeah, so Rampage also had a chance of casting a free Whirlwind as well, which I think was up to 66%. So in terms of AoE, it was a very easy run. In terms of single target, it was a very easy run. And it just goes to show how these little builds that you can come up with on the fly, because I've never played Torghast before, so it's not like it's something whereby I'm aware of this being a build that's useful. And once you get higher up, it might not be. But just sort of, you know, at that time, my character just felt unstoppable, which is always a nice feeling, isn't it, when you play WoW, I think. So should be coming up towards the end of the first floor. You'll generally, I think there's points whereby it looks like you're sort of going in the wrong direction, but it can be useful to do that because there's a high chance that you might then find another anima horde, which then gives you another ability to be able to use to make yourself stronger moving forwards. So although this isn't going to be the end of the run, I'm still going to go this way, just in the hope that we can get another upgrade. Now, as far as I'm aware, I think I am very overpowered in terms of the gear that I have for this level of Torghast, which is probably why it looks pretty easy. There's still times when my health might get a little bit low, but I'm not being overly cautious about using Victory Rush or anything like that. Now, this is one of the things that you will want to keep an eye out for when you are in Torghast, is Ashen Phylacteries. Mainly these ones here, where you can see the black cloud puffing out. That means there's an anima horde inside, which is what I was saying before. If you look at the map up here at the minimap, you can see that I've come off the sort of beaten path on the minimap, but it's led me to an anima horde, so it's worth it. So here we go, Bloodstained Whetstone. The damage of Whirlwind is increased by 30%. So I'm going to go with that, just because, like I say, my legendary shoulders currently have the, if Whirlwind hits 3 of my enemies, it hits an additional time. So buffing up my Whirlwind is the most important thing about the current sort of option I've chosen in terms of legendary weapon, or legendary armor, sorry. In terms of the gear sets as well, so each covenant has their own gear set that you unlock as you increase your renown, which is essentially your like reputation with that covenant. You can unlock, I think from what I've seen so far, there's like 4 different versions of the gear set for each covenant that you can unlock, and they each have like a different colour to them. And I'm not sure if the aesthetic is different or if they look the same, but it is just the colour. I didn't inspect them too much. But in terms of the Venthyr one, so if we have a look at the collections tab, and we go on to appearances and then sets. So far the Castle Natria set, you can check it, so you can go onto the dungeon journal and you can build up the set just through there. But in terms of the tool here, it doesn't have the option to do it. But if you look at the Dread Sentinel's Ebony Battle Plate, so this, if you complete the Venthyr campaign, which is just like a little quest line that you get, well I say a little, I think it's a decent sized quest line, then you will get this set if you choose a Venthyr plate wearing character. Then if you click up here, you can see there's 4 different options. So there's the Travel Network, which gives you the blue version. I don't think it's any different, is it? No, so it looks like it is purely just the colours that change. So you get the blue version of Travel Network. If you do the Ember Court, you get the green version. Ember Court I have done slightly, which is essentially just like you throw a party, like a dinner party, because the Venthyr is this sort of thing about them being like vampires with a high society and a low society. And from what I understand, they're taking the high society, are taking the anima from the low people and drip feeding it down to them, acting as if it's all being, you know, shared equally. But as we all know, that never works out. And then finally is the Renown one, which looks unbelievable. So here is the Renown set. That gold and red combo is just unbelievable. I absolutely adore that set. I need to make my orc posture stand because I don't like the sort of hunched look, so I'm interested to see how it looks when the shoulders etc are actually straight. But even with the hunched look, I think that's a really good looking set. The Maldraxxus one, Necrolord set, sorry, also looks fantastic. So depending on the testing and how the sort of Covenant ability goes and things like that, I might potentially choose them, but I'm not 100% certain yet. Now I am going to choose Curious Miasma here. I've used this one before. When you attack a new creature, you are healed for 1,785. Doesn't look a great deal because of the fact that the stat squish hasn't come into effect as of yet. But if you look at my health now, I've got 30,000 HP, so getting healed for 2k is a decent amount of that. And when you consider that's, you know, with a full set of epic gear, that's quite a good amount of HP to be healed for. One good thing that did come out of the announcement by Blizzard that they were delaying Shadowlands, of course, is the announcement that pre-patch will be launching on the 13th of October. So thankfully that's not too far away. I don't think in terms of content-wise there's going to be a great deal to do, but, you know, ultimately I'm not that fussed now because I've got the option of playing beta, which makes a huge difference. It really does. It was getting difficult to sort of, you know, find things to do on stream, and I was wanting to keep streaming, but I was thinking, Pete, you know, nobody's going to be interested in watching me doing the same transmog runs over and over again. So the fact that it's presented itself the opportunity to play a bit, and now in line with the delay, was very, very lucky. Another thing worth mentioning about Torghast is that you will find these little guys here, which is a bound soul remnant. You might also find like a cage later down the line as well, which you can interact with. It's worth interacting with these because once you free them, you then get a little buff off here, which is the soul remnant's blessing, and that increases like a stacking buff, which increases your main stat by 1%. There's no time limit on it, so the entire time that you are in Torghast you will have this buff, and there are a lot of these guys around. I imagine once you get up towards the sort of back end, you know, up to sort of ranks 6 or 7 plus, I imagine collecting as many of those as possible will most likely become necessary. Can't say that for certain because again I haven't tested it yet, but it would definitely seem that that's something that would be the case. So this is the first sort of mini boss. So each floor will have a little mini boss like this beforehand, before you move into the next area. So we'll make quick work of this guy. Not really a challenge by any stretch. The mini bosses will always give you an anima horde as well, so let's have a look and see what we get this time. Soul Remnant's Blessing increases the duration of enraged regeneration by 10% per application. That's pretty good. You know, enraged regen lasts for 8 seconds. 10% of that is like 0.8, it's not bad. I like this one though, which is the Door of Shadows increases your dodge chance by 20%. The reason I like it is because when you're fighting bosses, it's very easy to jump in with Door of Shadows like that, and that starts your boss fight. You're instantly going in with a 20% dodge chance. You can then reset that or reapply that every 1.5 seconds, technically, if you want. Sorry, every 1 minute, and it only takes 1.5 seconds to cast, so I definitely think that's worth it. In terms of how the sort of final thing works, I think Torghast is pretty much done. I think Blizzard are happy with it. I think the people who are playing and testing the beta were happy with it, so I think this is pretty much now how Torghast will be going into the actual launch of the expansion. If that is the case, I'm going to be very happy. It's going to keep me busy. I know that there isn't a great deal in, like, the aesthetic's really nice. If it's the same every time, I can see it potentially getting a little bit boring, don't get me wrong. But the good thing is that's very easy to change, I think, in the grand scheme of things. You know, putting up a different aesthetic and making it, for example, a Kyrian one or a Maldraxxus one, that's going to be really easy to do, I think. So if that's my main, like my only real concern with Torghast, then that's pretty good going, I would say. Now I want to try and get through, so at the moment some of the abilities that we've got aren't that exciting, so we're not really seeing anything sort of special happening here in terms of any weird interactions between abilities or anything like that. As you can see, I'm really not struggling in terms of the enemies at the moment. So I would like to get to the point where it's maybe a little bit more of a challenge. I mean, one of the ways to do that is to just do it artificially and just start taking on more enemies than you probably should. But again, I'll be totally honest, I'm not quite sure what it is that's killing them so fast. because I don't think any of them, but I need to, one thing I do need to do is I really need to download a damage meter before I come back on the beta next time, because there is one available to use. So I should really do that, because obviously that's going to be very important as part of testing the abilities out and, you know, seeing what is working best for warriors at the moment. I honestly think a lot of the damage might be coming from Condemn, the fact that you can use it, like you see there, the fact that you can use it above 80% and have this like execute ready ability is just ridiculous. I do think that's going to be probably the best one. Like I say, it's a shame that it does replace execute and isn't just an additional ability on top, but I think for the benefits that you get from it, it's definitely going to be something that's worth it. So we've got a nice Anima Horde here. Let's have a look and see if we can get a whirlwind related option. Casting Door of Shadows reduces the cast time of Door of Shadows by 10% and it cooldown by 3 seconds, stacks 10 times. Berserker Rage lasts 100% longer. I'm just going to go with the Berserker Rage option. Again, I haven't got it on my toolbar because these are just the sort of pre-Blizzard set toolbars, so I haven't really played around with any of it just yet. Ah, and apparently another plundered anima here. That's just one of the standard ones. There's some that you can't choose, it just sort of gives you a buff. I get the feeling they're kind of like almost like a mini horde in a way, which is why it said plundered, so it's not quite a full anima horde, but you're still going to get something off it, so it's worth picking it up. I haven't come across this yet, like a little puzzle inside the inside here, that's pretty cool. Enemies can evade, I didn't know they could do that. I thought it would be kind of like a dungeon where they just stay on you permanently, so that's interesting to know that you can get enemies to evade. Right, okay, let's have a look. I have no idea, do I have to just get them all to match up? Is that the aim of the game here? No. Not quite sure. Okay, so, alright, okay. So green is the unlock on that one, purple is the unlock on that one. Is that it? Yeah, nice. So you've got to sort of do like work out what the code is, that's cool. I like the fact that there's just like little random mini games inside as well. I don't find rage generation being a problem, to be honest with you, so we'll go with the 75 Phantasma in this situation here, because I think we're going to be coming up on floor 3, which will lead us into a room with the vendor in anyway, so it's probably just going to be worth doing that. Have a look. So we've got the Door of Shadows one again. So yeah, just in case you weren't aware, these do stack. So I'm not too bothered about the reduced cast time. I'm not too bothered about the shout duration. So I'm going to go with this here, the Door of Shadows one. We've already got a stack of this. So if you look on here, if you go on your anima powers on the side, and we go over Murmuring Shawl. So Door of Shadows now increases our dodge chance by 40%. So every 1 minute we get a 40% dodge chance for 15 seconds, which is just ridiculous. Excuse me. Right, is there a vendor here? Nothing that I can see yet, which is fine. We will just casually pick up the Tormented Soul Remnants. But yeah, having played the beta now a little bit, I'm certainly feeling more confident than I was about Shadowlands. I was hearing sort of mixed messages, you know, people saying that it's really convoluted, the covenants aren't very good, and there's other things that I will need to show you in terms of like conduits and things like that, but I'll do that another time. And it was sounding very muddled, and I wasn't really looking forward to it a great deal. Like I was anxious about it. Now having played it, a lot of those worries that I had have really gone away. Now I will take this opportunity to show you one of the bugs that I have reported. So if you'll have a look here, this is what's called the Ravenous Anima Cell. So basically you can use it and it will then create an anima horde, so you can choose a new ability. I could technically buy 2 of the plundered ones, but I want to show you what happens here. So if you have a look at the tooltip for it, it says use transform any non-elite enemy into an anima cell. Now if I buy this, as you can see there's no enemies around, but if I use it, it transforms Brock Vechen, who is not an enemy, into an anima cell. It was worth it because he's just given me 400 for the sake of 250, but as you can see that's not an interaction that should be happening, so that's one of the sort of bugs. And again, I imagine that's already been reported, but again, the whole point of beta is just to report it as much as you can. The damage of Rampage is okay, it's fine, but I really just want to see how high we can. That's really good if you're coming up to the boss fight, because you can sometimes get some of these before bosses, so the fact that you can be immune to all damage for 1.5 minutes before bosses is crazy. But we're going to go with the Door of Shadows, so we've now got a 60% dodge chance after we use Door of Shadows, which is insane. Do I have any base dodge? I don't know if I do. It's not showing on there, so that's okay. I'm not really bothered, but a 60% dodge chance is pretty insane. So we're going up to floor 4 now, just past the halfway point. I imagine these will probably be more challenging, more fun playing in 2s, because if you play 2 or above, because ultimately if you're playing in a group of people, then you can all try and sort of come up with abilities together that help each other out and work in conjunction with one another. So we've currently got our 60% dodge chance going down right now. It seems to be doing okay, not the best. I wouldn't. It's probably because I don't think you can dodge spells, so that would probably explain why. It'll just be physical attacks, and a lot of these guys are sort of spell related. Now, I haven't really paid much attention, probably because I was just lost in the hype of playing the beta, to be honest with you, so I'm not sure if the enemies are the same in each of these. I don't think they will be. I think it will be different enemies in each run of Torghast, or at least in each wing of Torghast that you do. That's something that I'll probably just have to pay a little bit more attention to the next time that I do it. So we will kill these final 2 gentlemen over here, get them done, and then we'll move on after we collect the Soul Remnant. There's a plundered anima over there as well, so that'll give us... We'll test the theory actually. I think, from what I understand, that's going to be one of the ones where it just gives us an ability. It gives us a common ability. You don't really get much of a choice about it. So let's have a look and see if that is correct. Yes, that is correct. So that's pretty cool. So we've figured something new out. So the plundered anima just gives you a common ability. You don't get a choice, so that's interesting. However, it is one of the better ones, which basically just means that there is no rage cost attached to any of my abilities for 1.5 minutes, which is very good because obviously a lot of warrior damage comes from Rampage, and Rampage is normally, I think it's like 60 rage or something like that. So to have that be cast for free is very handy. I'm going to assume that we want to be going around the back of this because there's going to be some form of option to gather anima in some way or another. I shouldn't have used Berserker Rage previously, but that's fine. I'm not in any threat. If you're a solo player like I mainly am, this is definitely something to be excited about. The fact that it's tied with your ability to get legendary items as well, so it's not insignificant. Ultimately, I think it'd be very easy for Blizzard to put something in to satiate solo players and just say, oh well, you've got an option to do something solo, but then it has no real consequence. This, doing Torghast is something that all players will have to do. because it's directly linked with your legendary items, so there's no way around it. You know, you have to do this Tower of the Damned. And I imagine you'll probably find, you know, groups in the group find looking for people if it's a case of you get better rewards. I don't technically know how the reward system works. I don't know if the reward is purely just the Ashen Dust that you get. Now we have got a rare spawn here. I've killed a rare spawn already in one of my runs, and he gave like a unique ability. So again, I'm wondering if that's going to be the same with this guy here once he goes down. So like where you get to choose like an anima ability, he basically gave the option of some which were like ridiculously powerful. So we'll try and make as quick work, and really need to remember to just use recklessness, because for whatever reason I just avoid using it. So we'll make quick work of this guy here. We're in execute range now, so we're getting some crazy numbers coming up there. So let's have a look. So fallen armaments, while in combat, every 10-second gain 5% haste for 12 seconds. Stacks up, so 50% haste in combat, which is just ridiculous. Or 50% damage reduction. I mean, I'm obviously going to go with the haste. You can't not choose the increased damage. And then we get an anima cell as well. The duration of recklessness and blade storm increased by 40%. I mean, I can't argue with that. 16.8% seconds is just ridiculous. So we're having a pretty good run right now in terms of the abilities that we've acquired, and as you can see, in terms of like your power, it can really start to stack up, which is just ridiculous. I mean, that ability that we just got there off the rare spawn with the haste, I think that's crazy. So we're going to jump up here, getting towards the end now. Can't beat a better Red Bull, my god. Gets me through the day, especially with the newborn keeping us up all night. Although I'm just using that as an excuse, let's be honest. It was Shadowlands that kept me up all night. But yeah, when I first heard the news about Shadowlands being delayed, I was a bit unsure. Obviously naturally I was disappointed, and I think that's just to be expected when you don't have access to the beta. You're wanting to do some streaming. The content that's currently available on retail is, you know, just old content. So I think the natural reaction was to be disappointed with it. But then upon sort of review, you know, listening to other people's thoughts on the matter, and then, you know, taking that into account and then thinking about it again myself from the point of view of, you know, do I want to play something that's not very good, or do I want to wait and play something that I enjoy? I mean, I think it was Asmongold that said it, and when they found out, because from what I understand, they were actually doing like a live stream. I forget the name of the show that they do, but he was doing a live stream, and they found out whilst they were live, and naturally, you know, the chat on the stream was kicking off saying, you know, what a joke, it's been delayed and stuff like this, and someone said, you know, what are we going to do for people who book time off work? And for me, one of the sort of main things that I heard was when he said, would you rather go to work all day and come home to play a game that you enjoy and look forward to playing a game that you enjoy, or would you rather be off work playing a game that you don't enjoy? And, you know, when I thought about it, I'd much rather, you know, be excited about coming home and playing a game that is good and that I actually get enjoyment out of playing, because at the end of the day, we've had Battle for Azeroth now for a long time, and there's never been particularly a point throughout that where I've been, you know, desperately excited to get back and to play. There's been occasions where I have been excited to play, you know, but there's never been a time where I've been sat there thinking, I really can't wait to get home and to get back on and you know, play the expansion, have an explore, you know, do some Torghast or whatever. let's say, I mean, I'm fixated on Torghast at the moment purely because it's the only thing that I've really experienced. I have done a dungeon, which was really funky, but in terms of it, I definitely think people need to just realise that in the grand scheme of things, it's better to wait and get something that you're going to enjoy than to just rush something that's, you know, especially when it's something you're going to have for such a long time. I think that's the key thing for me. If it was a case of, it was, you know, they rushed a patch, like if they rushed a pre-patch, for example, and it meant that we were just stuck with, you know, shit content for an extra couple of months or something like that, then I'd just be a bit like, whatever. But when it comes down to, you know, having something that's going to be there for years, I'd rather they just take the time. Now, in terms of this, I'm not sure about Edge Lurker. It seems like a pretty strange option. Your movement speed is increased by 60% when close to the wall or edge of a hallway. That's very strange. But condemns damage done and damage prevented increased by 25%, which is my like sort of executability. So it's currently at 3051 damage. So if we choose that one, and it goes up to 3814. I mean, that's ridiculous. So that's definitely going to be an ability that I'm going to keep an eye out for moving forwards, because I haven't had that one before. So that could be really good. Now we're on floor 5, which I believe is the second to last floor, and we will come across a vendor at some point on this floor as well. I'm just going to jump in the middle over here actually. Let's get these guys down. So we'll try and get through this one a bit faster now. I think we've been in here long enough. Just make sure I don't die. That fear was not good because it's gonna... I mean, that was pretty unlucky really, that the fear ran me into the things coming across the room. Now I look at it, dying at that because that was pretty damn easy. I just wasn't using my... To be honest with you, again, why I didn't pop Recklessness, I will never know. So you can just skip through these, but I don't think it doesn't really work very well, in my opinion. It never has. The first time I've ever come across one of these sort of pathways was Patchwork back in Nax, and he had this with the little poison globules going across the floor. And in terms of like lag and things like that, it just never worked properly. I'm not saying that my death there was explicitly down to lag, but ultimately it just doesn't help the situation, is the way that I look at it. So I really don't think that things like this, I never see them as a good idea. If you're going to have them, Blizzard, at least just make the gaps a bit bigger, or, you know, make the... slow it down a bit. Because you've got to try, look, see, I got hit there, but in my opinion, I couldn't have timed that any differently. Like, as far as I'm aware, that was as good as I could get it. I could be wrong, you know, you might be watching that thinking, well, you just ran through it, but personally, I don't think it could have been timed that much better. It just doesn't seem to work properly. So, these bits, for me, take them out or change them. I don't like them. I'll probably get that. I'll at least raise it as feedback at a later stage. So we'll go left because left looks to be the way that that's going to be the sort of like the longer of the two, which tends to be the option that's going to grant you something extra. There's the fear. I'm really not doing well in this one. I'm not concentrating enough at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure to actually try now, because I'm running out of deaths. So you get 5 deaths, I think it is, on solo. I don't know if it's the same when you're in a group. I mean, come on, like, I'm almost certain that I was through there. I don't feel like there's anything else I could have done in that situation. I really should be using this a lot more, given that a lot of my anima selections were put into it. Let's try and do this a little bit better. Because the last thing I want to be doing is dying right now. Again. Right, that's that one done. Go over here. I'm just going to use Recklessness. I don't actually even know what the cooldown is on it. I haven't, honestly, I didn't come on very long last night. I just wanted to get certain things done and tested. I didn't actually sort of, you know, sit around and inspect my character or anything like that. Right, I need to get somebody killed so I can get some healing. This is strangely hitting me harder than I remember previously. Like, doing this before did not seem this difficult. So we'll heal up off the Morats. It's one good thing about Morats. I think that's kind of one of the reasons why they're there, is just to give you like those little options. Can this get me all the way through is the question. Because if it can, that's going to be... So that's really handy. That's one of the sort of best things I've seen in terms of usage-wise. For that ability. I keep forgetting the name of it. Door of Shadows. That was pretty cool. I enjoyed that. I think it's quite nice that your Covenant gives you one damage dealing ability, like one combat ability and one non-combat ability as well. One of the thoughts I had when it came to hearing that Blizzard was struggling in terms of balancing Covenants was I just thought, well, why don't they just make it so that all of the abilities are non-combat? But I suppose that wouldn't really be exciting in terms of choosing your Covenant. So, ignore pain, absorbs an additional damage equal to 10% of your maximum health. It's like an extra 3k. It currently does 10, so it's like 13. It's not bad. Morats exploding. I don't think the Morats exploding is really necessary now, because ultimately we've got to the point whereby we haven't exactly got anybody left to, or any big groups of people left to kill. So I'm just going to make sure to try and actually stay alive this time. Once I start concentrating, it definitely goes a little bit better, a bit smoother. So I need to remember, one thing that I do need to remember is to make sure that I use Condemn when I first start combat with a new enemy. Because, I mean, you just saw it nearly took like half the HP off that guy. So, we're pretty much now, I think, on the way to the last boss. I think. I'll be honest, this one seems a little bit more confusing than the previous ones I've been in. Right, keeping Berserker Rage is definitely a good idea. I don't know why I was pre-popping in before. Let's just use Enraged Regen just to make sure that we don't die. That fear is not good, because it's going to push me into more enemies. Right, I'll definitely be glad to be done with this one. This definitely seems a lot different from the one that I did previously, and a lot harder than the ones I've done previously, which is fine, don't get me wrong, I like the challenge, but when I'm on stream and I've died a few times, and yeah, a bit embarrassing. Right, so Berserker Rage, that's 200%, right? 18 seconds, that's not bad. So it's kind of saying that there's an option to go down here. Is that right? We'll pop the chains down, interrupted, sod it. I'm not going to be going back up anywhere. Okay. So this should be the final stretch now, and then we will hit the boss.
Get closer. Darkness awaits you.
So I'm certainly looking forward to doing more Shadowlands content. One of the things that I'll probably look to do is to create a new character and show off the new startings. Oh man, Blizzard, get rid of these. They are driving me absolutely bonkers. So there's the new starting zone that you can do. I've forgotten the name of it now. Exile's Reach is the name of it. Sorry, I'm just concentrating so hard and trying not to get hit by these damn fucking things shooting across the screen. I think what you kind of have to do is what I used to do with the slimes, which is to sort of, as one goes past, aim for the sort of tail of it. Because again, the lag. See what I mean? Didn't get hit there because I aimed for the tail of the previous one. Which is just stupid, but at least we can avoid getting hit by them moving forwards. I mean, it was quite unlucky there that I got hit by the mob, which then pushed me into it. But if we can avoid getting killed again, because I'm pretty certain I'm on my last death now, that would be ideal. So jump down here. Quite a lot of Phantasma, like 1,000 Phantasma. I really need to get to the vendor and buy some shit ready for the last boss. So let's jump down, get rid of this guy.
Too far away.
Shoot his own spear back at him. Right, I think it was that thing that hit me last time. Ambushes, you can keep an eye out for them. And the fear. The fear is also nasty. So let's tell you what, I'm not even going to bother testing that out. We'll just go straight for the Door of Shadows. So that is definitely something that I really like in terms of Door of Shadows. I've only just used that for the first time for that reason on stream here, and that I find is a very useful thing. Another one that I did find could potentially be quite useful for it is if you're in like a boss fight, like a raid or something like that, and you need to get out of an AoE that they're going to be doing quickly, then it makes it a lot easier for warriors. Warriors already have a fairly easy time in terms of getting out of things because we've got Heroic Elite, but to have two effects now that get us out is never a bad thing. You can never have too many. So this should be the final mini-boss now. The mini-bosses are easier than the trash. It's nice to see the low numbers again after the stat squish as well, hitting enemies for like thousands and stuff like that, or 100. Looks really good. I think it just looks nicer personally. I'll go with the Whirlwind. I don't think there's any more enemies that I need to AoE down, but the boss could potentially be an AoE boss, so it's worth taking it. Excuse me. Right, yeah, here we go. And it's Decay Speaker. This guy's really easy if it's the same one that I've fought before. He just does like some little pools on the floor that you just got to get out of. That's not a problem. I will take the Ravenous Animacell because once I've got everything I need from this guy, I can just get rid of him. So yeah, as you can see, some of the abilities you can actually just buy. I don't know. Maximum health, that's always going to be helpful. Armor and block value. Heal for 50%. So that's one of the ones. Hurricane Heart. That's one of the ones that I do use when I do a Whirlwind build. Sadly, we didn't get to do a Whirlwind build in this run, which isn't great. We'll take the Rampage damage. We're not going to be looting anymore. So that's fine. So there's not really anything else I want to get from him. So we'll quickly do the Plundered Animas. Right. Well, I can't argue with more Recklessness duration because that's now up to 21.5 seconds. And we'll do the duration of shout because we're not going to need any more Phantasma. I'm not sure which of the shouts duration's been extended, but that's fine. Does it say? I'm not bothered. And then finally we will get rid of him, which again isn't an interaction that should be working because it's non-elite enemy. And he was not an enemy, but it still works. Like I say, I have already raised that. And sadly, 400. I wonder if because he's the so he might always drop that. because that's 2 of them that have dropped it, and it's called Broker's Purse. So I wonder if anytime you do, I wonder if it is meant to allow you to kill him, but obviously they need to change the tooltip then in that case, in my opinion, because it's not right. But anyway, so we're going to pop Recklessness, see what sort of crit we can get with Condemn. We didn't crit, which is fine. I forgot this guy takes decreased damage, so you want to take his shell down first. Right, there we go. Now I can hit him. 3.6k, that's nice. So yeah, as long as you stay out of the green pools on this guy, it's really easy. So it's not that shout that had its duration increased either. I'm honestly not sure of which one it was that had the duration increased, to be fair. But yeah, we'll make quick work of this one. He's pretty easy, to be fair. We'll quickly do this just for the dodge chance, because he does attack melee. As long as you stay out the acid bomb, you'll be fine. Execute range, pop recklessness. We get a nice crit. Nope, still no crit. And then you get your Soul Ash at the end, which is again what's required for your legendary crafting. So that is that run of Torghast complete. All you need to do now is just run up the stairs and exit, and that'll just take you back to the main hub. So in terms of the powers that we got, it wasn't a great run. Nothing really sort of worked hand in hand with one another. There was a couple of deaths in there, which was quite poor, but that was, I would say it's 25% Blizzard's fault because if they had the things going across the screen, 75% my fault because I just wasn't paying enough attention and I wasn't using my abilities very well. But I haven't changed anything around. This is pretty much how they come when you access the beta and select Warrior. So again, I haven't really played around with that, but the next time I do a stream, what I'll make sure to do is to get a damage meter installed. We'll do some testing. If there's any comments on the video, just to let me know if you want to, if there's anything in particular you want me to do, if you want me to go around and have a look and do like a little world tour of the areas and sort of see what they look like. Because I've only seen, let's say, Revendreth myself, so a lot of it's going to be new for me as well. So if you want to see that, if you want to see more Torghast and try and do a push up to some higher Torghast, if you want to see dungeons, just let me know. If there's nothing there in the comments or anything like that, that's fine. I'll just decide what I want to do myself, and if anyone wants to watch, they can. But in the meantime, I just want to say, if anyone's watching, Michael, thank you very much for watching today. Thanks for chatting. Sorry if my replies to you are a little bit slow, but it's new to me to have somebody chatting live while I'm playing. But I really appreciate it. It was really nice, thank you. So yeah, I'll leave it there. We've got beta. It's unbelievable, couldn't believe it. So yeah, I'll see you in the next time. Thanks for watching.